educate yourself on college sports levels. This is now the important piece of everything we've talked about.
Yeah, well, you kind of brushed on it a little bit there, Tarek, with your top 20 in Canada,
Yeah.
So kind of going into knowing what it takes to get to a certain level of competition. So if you want to be at a top 20 D1 school, then you better train for it. You got to work hard. You got to kind of do your research in that aspect and kind of know what it takes to get to that level. You can't just be doing what you're doing because you might not get to that next level. You have to do other things. You have to go above and beyond. You have to put in those hours, like me, when I didn't have a life during the summer, instead of being on the tennis courts for 2 hours, I was on the tennis courts for 6 hours, obviously given the fact that I was able to do so. But, you have to understand what it takes to get to certain levels.
Okay, so John, I want to ask you then, people will often say, I don't know what, the levels are in college, for my sport. So, what's the minimum level I need to get to even become a college athlete, as well as if I want to play at the top teams. So for me, like, it was talking to past players or seeing players like that would come home in the summertime and stuff that were, playing in college and asking them, what college you go to, what's it like, all that stuff. I never got to go to college matches and stuff like that. But I think that now obviously COVID, meaning not now, but when people hopefully watch this and this is over, normally going to college matches is a good way to see, how good these teams are and these players, right?
Yeah, you can talk to, people in your sport, on your team, teammates, coaches. You can get a lot of information. Going to matches obviously helps out, but kind of just doing your research, you can, find a lot of stuff online. There's a point in your life or, where you're going to kind of already know where, like if you're playing a house league, sport or whatever, you might know, like you're not playing at a competitive level, right?
Right.
You're already at a competitive level. Like you have to kind of be at a competitive level to play college sports, unless if you just have like a talent and you can just, pick up a bat and start hitting home runs. Okay.
Right.
But other than that, if you're not like, that type of talent, like you already know that you're playing on a competitive team or you're playing competitive tournaments, you're going to be around, competitive parents, coaches, and players. So, just ask, ask the older kids, where they're committing to, it kind of gives you an idea, like I knew, again, I know I talked about this on another show, but the way I found out where, I can kind of fit into some of these schools is I asked someone that was, a year ahead of me that already committed somewhere and that got a bunch of letters from these schools. He was a little bit better than me, but I kind of knew like, okay, this could be like the chunk of schools that I might be able to get into, get offered some scholarships. So I kind of went after these caliber of coaches during, leading up to my senior year. But I knew that was the level I was at, and these are the type of schools that I can actually go after. So I didn't go after, your Stanfords, your Dukes, your UCLAs, whatever the case was, as much as I would love to go to these schools. I just knew at that time already, I did my research. I knew I wasn't at that level.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. I think also when you said it online, like you can see what type of stats these guys and girls are putting up.
Right.
You can see the scoreboard, the results, and stats don't lie. Like if you're putting up these numbers, and like you said, if you're playing in these competitive leagues, you'll get a good idea. And a lot of the coaches too are former athletes, right? Either pro and college or both, and they can help. The one thing you got to be careful of is different eras will have different levels, right? Like I know, when we went to school, it's natural that the athletes are bigger, stronger. They have better equipment. They have better technology now. So it's hard to compare eras, but people who know it understand how that works. Like maybe not. I'm not sure. Maybe we could have played at the same schools we did and had the same success in today's era than we did, because, you know, we would have also had those new equipment and technologies and all that behind us. But it's hard to tell. So you got to also be careful. You got to
well, those things are super useful, like having platforms, you know, like IMRecruitable, you know, when coaches are hitting you up on there, when they're contacting you, it's like you're going to be at their level. You know, their coaches like do their research as well. Coaches aren't trying to go for a super high reach. If they're, you know, looking at, you know, 2-3-star players, they're not going for your blue chips, you know, and vice versa. Sense. If you're a school like a, you know, like a Duke, they're not going after 3-star players. So they're going after like the elite, right? So it's kind of comes hand in hand. The way coaches do it is also how, you know, you should be doing it as well. And kind of, again, doing your research and knowing that if you're a certain level, you know, kind of find out exactly which level you should be going after, rather than reaching for the stars, I guess, and kind of not getting much success there.
Yeah, it was my biggest feature, or, you know, I always talk about, you know, the coaches will recruit the level players that they want, and you will start to understand where you fit in the market.
Yeah, sorry, let me just retract, because, you know, I always say reach for the stars, but when you're at a later stage in the recruiting and you're trying to, like, you know, go after these schools now, that's when you should already be well prepared and kind of know you're at a certain level, right? So if you're going into like your junior year or halfway through your junior year, you know, it takes a lot to just jump to the next level just within 6 months, and going from like a, you know, a 3-star school to like a school that is trying to look for some like blue chips or 5 stars, right?
Yeah, I mean, there comes a time in your development when you have to take an opportunity based on where you're at right now.
Exactly.
And you continue development once you get to that place. No different than a job.
No.
You have a certain skill set. You might want a job at Google, but you end up getting a job at another tech company.
Right.
And you take it because that's where you're at now. And while you're at that job, you might spend 1, 2, 3, 4, 5+ years building the skills, and then maybe the next opportunity comes from there.
And this is why it's important to start early as well, right? So like the earlier start you have and the earlier you do your research, the more you'll understand and kind of know what to do to get to a certain level, rather than, you know, waiting till like last minute and being like, oh, okay, like I want to go here actually, but I'm going to have to, like, there's a lot of development, a lot of improvement for me to actually, you know, even contact a coach of that level. So
yeah, and like so the whole market is important. Understanding where you fit in the market of college coaches. That is, as you touched on earlier, that's why I added that feature in IMRecruitable. I think that's a key component is, you know, if coaches come and view your profile, provided you have the information there and you show your videos and all your skill sets and development, then the types of coaches that are interested in getting a player like you will start hitting you up. You'll very quickly see who's viewing profiles, who's searching you, who's following you, to get an understanding of where you fit. So, you know, it's not only going to college matches, not only talking to people, it's also seeing those stats online and through these platforms that can give you direct access to these coaches for them to tell you, like, you know, this is where I think you are and I'm interested or I'm not interested. And obviously you have to reach out as well. You know, it's very important to run it both ways and to see what the reaction comes back. Right. So, you know, I mean, that's it for me on this, because I think that we've given a lot of great information on how players can develop and continue to, you know, improve not only before, during recruitment, but after recruitment, how it all interconnects with each other, how important it is that, and setting the expectations. Yeah, you don't expect to send an email to some of these top schools that everyone's desiring to go, but you've neglected the development and understanding of that those coaches are going to recruit, you know, the best players they can. And so my final thing to say is, if you have done everything in your power You know, you have everything we talked about today,
Right.
and you have put in your work and you have tried to maximize your potential. You have done everything you could to make that happen. And wherever you fit and fall, whether it's a 1-star, 2-star, 3-star, 4-star, 5-star, you should be very, very happy and proud of what you've been able to accomplish, and realize that there's an opportunity for you at one or more schools to play your sport in college, that it's an amazing opportunity, that it's the best time of your life. You don't have to go to the top schools to have that experience. There's offered all the way across. Otherwise, people wouldn't go, right? And so you have to be happy with that. But where people aren't is when they have regret and when they wish they had done it earlier. So I'm hoping that, you know, parents of 6th graders, 7th graders, 8th graders, do your research. Yeah. I'm hoping that everybody, you know, listens to this early on, and that the people that are listening to it later are actually telling everybody who's younger, like, you need to focus on this. You need to listen to this. You need to realize how important it is, the development to your recruitment, and that, you know, when it comes time, you won't be disappointed.
Right.